In these last days of the liturgical year, my friends, our Holy Mother of the Church, from day to day, places before our eyes what is classically referred to as the last things, novissima, the last things of all, the crunch. These last things can crunch us more quickly and unexpectedly than we might think. One day, on the phone, I heard from Ma'am that in a weekend of Bible study and preparation for young ministers in a college not far from where we are, there was, between lectures, a conversation going on between a young minister and another person on the course, on the landing of the staircase in this old building, therefore fairly high up. And the conversation became so animated that the young minister in question, wanting to make a point, started to gesticulate. The only thing was that he was holding in his hand his precious laptop, in which were all his notes, and the said precious laptop started to get out of control, and seeing the danger of losing this extremely precious object over the balusters, he tried to rescue it before it fell, and in a few seconds' time, having lost his balance, he was in another realm. Time had ceased to be in a few split seconds. And I've often wondered to myself what were his thoughts in those seconds as he went from A to B and then from B to C. Because it is said that those who have that kind of experience have an almighty video of their whole life in a split second, and they get their act together pretty niftily. Wow, what am I facing? I have recently been on retreat, in a very intense clergy retreat in Fatima, and at the end of it, we were all, during the concluding Mass, invited to go on our knees and write down an engagement that we were making in the presence of the Lord, while having that same Lord in our heart in Holy Communion, as we had just celebrated with the presiding Archbishop, the Sacred Mysteries. And amongst the items that we were undertaking to take on ourselves until death was one which I leave with you in this context of what? Making sure that every day we're ready for that crunch. It's this. What is this? A little monstrance, a wee monstrance, as you in the north would say. It's the one that actually quite often stays in the tabernacle, but covered with this. I have a larger one as well, a beautiful one which my friends brought from Medjugorje, but this one is in daily use. And what has come to my mind since being on this retreat is the importance of this part of the engagement that we were all making. That until death, we would have 1 hour of adoration before this. Now, I had actually already had that formation with the Premonst Attentions, and that had been one of the things that attracted me actually to just nearby here, Kilnacrot, where there was a lot of adoration going on day and night, and it was something which I was aware of from the beginning, because I remember when I got there, I had been put in front of the Blessed Sacrament after only a few days, when the prior said, "There is no one before the Blessed Sacrament, could you keep guard?" So I went actually during the lunch hour and kept guard. And while there, although I didn't hear anything, I felt this nudging, whispering. It was this: I am here. Why look any further? And that was a little word which kept me there and made me take the habit habit there and settled in Ireland way back in 1991 again. And it was something which I had kept on board all those years, that this holy hour, if it's always there, makes the day safe, because one is exposed to Him. One is gazing at Him, and He's having access to us and having a chance to get through and calm us down and make us see what matters and what doesn't matter, or matters far less. We're looking at love, and we're able to be, if you like, by osmosis changed into love. There are rays of love beaming at us. And while we're looking at Him, we're getting His thoughts. And it's not a noisy business, but it makes a huge difference, because we're calming down and being receptive. We're taking in and not giving off. We're being worked upon. And Killarcott actually was a good place for that to happen, because it was very, very quiet, especially at night. As you would say in Ireland, not a sinner in sight. Now, these nudges come at other times too, especially when we're close to the Lord. Just this week, I had with me a person in retreat who had lived for many years in complete enclosure. And this person told me, just casually, something that had happened. It was in the context of what I had mentioned before, at this time of year when hosts were disappearing, before Halloween and so on. And by the way, we were discussing this on the highest level in Fatima. I won't go into that again now, but it's big stuff, this question of the hosts they have to get. Now, she said to me this. One day, we were in the monastery, and the Mother Superior took me out of the monastery to do something in Rome. And it's from the Mother House. They had to go into the streets of Rome on some business, probably to get some document or something. And the Mother Superior said, well look, we'll take advantage of this to go also to Mass. So they called into a church in Rome, and they stayed for the celebration. Now, this good sister was telling me, normally at Holy Communion I wouldn't be in any way thinking in the slightest of anything about the Lord inside me. Out of the blue, when I had got back from Holy Communion and I had the Blessed Sacrament in my heart, I felt and heard that I had to look behind me. At first I resisted, because I would never do anything of the sort, especially at that moment in my life, Holy Communion. But it came again, look behind you. So, stealthily and discreetly, she did. And what did she see? Just at that split second, but the person who was kneeling behind her, with his two fingers, went into his mouth where the host was, pulled it out, and put it in his pocket. Just a few seconds. And she happened, in inverted commas, to look around in one of those few seconds. What could she do? She had the immediate reaction to say, "Give me that!" He was quite taken aback and did not know quite how to react. But she was so virulent about it, even though she was a soft and quiet nun, that she got her way. And she herself immediately consumed it, knowing that was the safest thing to do at that time, protecting it at least by that, and she was correct. Because there was saliva on it already. In that context, it has hit me. That was not just an accident. The Lord was really nudging her. And He will nudge us too. We will find that things come out of the blue and we see only afterwards, wow, that was not just a thought. The Lord was pushing me. And on the other level, He pushes also in history. Things happen when we start to believe in Him and His action. Just the other day, I was talking to somebody who is helping the new foundation just outside our parish, the Benedictines there, gone into that monastery where we used to celebrate on a Sunday morning. And this was what happened just the other day. Remember that in that monastery, they are really honouring the Lord with orthodoxy and genuine interiority, completely vertical, only prayer and praise, especially for priests. It's their charism and preparation before the Blessed Sacrament. Now, one day, the founding prior, said to Don Benedict, who was here the other day, remember, here, he said to him, I have this to pay. It's quite a sum, but please go to the bank and get the sum. Now, it just happened that Don Benedict knew that there was not enough in the bank to take that sum away. But like St. Benedict, he was so insistent on the importance of blind obedience, obedience blind and dumb, as we say, because St. Benedict rewarded obedience in the case of one monk, wasn't it? Placid, who was told to go and run because there was a problem in the place where they were working. And it led to a miracle happening, which was similar to walking on the water. Anyway, what he did was, he went in complete obedience to do a thing which was humanly impossible. There was no money in the bank to cover that account, that much. On his way there, a lady bumped into him and said, "Ah, just the person I was looking for," and handed him an envelope, which he opened on the spot after she disappeared, and lo and behold, it was to the centime the exact amount needed to cover that big bill. That's God intervening big time. And all the big bills hitherto have been paid just like that. The right thing at the right time. Because they're honouring the Lord, who honours those who honour him and take him seriously. I would like to conclude with this which I mentioned at the beginning. If we're too busy to pray and to pray properly, we're too busy. If our day is full, there are two secrets for handling it. One is to do calmly, one item as it comes, and only that, and not double it up with thought of the next item after it. It's the same action, but done with liberty. The other is this: don't add on the quantity when actually perhaps the quality might be higher without taking it on unnecessarily. Because much of our tension is our own undertaking of too much. Life is fairly short, and sometimes shorter than we think. Quality is worth getting, and sometimes that quality is made of a certain shedding. Shedding of long conversations, many things which no one really ever asked us to do. Do well, calmly, the one item you know you have to do now, and do it resting on the Lord, who's big enough to honour us with his own almighty means.